All right, you're listening to another fun-filled episode of Geek Vice. This week we are sponsored by Soulless Gingers who hate Star Wars.
Welcome everybody to Geek Vice, episode number 108. We're proving that any vice with enough geek in it becomes a virtue. My name's Morph, that other guy over there is Kip, and we've got a couple of special guests for you tonight. We have Trevor, the soulless ginger of Geek Vice, and he hates Star Wars. And we have
not hate Star Wars.
and we have John Harris, our personal Han Solo, who loves everything Star Wars.
Wow.
How are you doing tonight, Trevor? Trevor and John, how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm going to be doing better here after a couple of drinks.
I'm doing great. I'm just waiting for his to defend some of his online comments that I've been reading lately.
Yes,
That's a viewer, so I'm sure we'll get to hear about.
So the reason we have these two special guests on tonight is we are going to talk about Star Wars. We are going to talk about The Force Awakens, but really all started probably, what was it, a couple weeks ago, when John posted on his some Star Wars comment on his personal Facebook page, and Trevor made a comment about it, and a flame war started on the...
It's an understatement.
I guess we could... I found it really entertaining, and I know I chimed in on quite a bit of it, but I thought it was fun.
It was a blast.
I enjoyed this. So we're going to have a debate.
I'm not sure we could call it a flame war. I simply stated that you, Kip, and Morph needed to come remove your soulless ginger from my presence because he was offending me.
He's not offending anybody.
Well, you know,
remove him because his presence offended me. I don't remember which it was.
Yes. Oh, it was quite entertaining, and for any of you that want to go find that, just go find John Harris on Facebook and go look up.
There's only like one, maybe.
Yeah. There can't be that many of you on there, or you can find him through. You can find him through the other people who like Geek Fights, or through Prolific Games. Yeah. He is the owner of Prolific Games, so. That should be a good way to find him. And you could just go search for Star Wars on his feed, and I'm sure it'll show up. Or Ginger.
I want to...
Pretty sure you're going to have trouble finding the soulless ginger.
Are there other kinds?
No.
All of these freckles right here are what I was calling.
All right, so let's get started with some Force Awakens. Everyone here has seen The Force Awakens. How many of you saw it opening weekend?
I did.
Nope.
I did.
I saw it like a week and a half after it.
Okay, and I just saw it yesterday. So we all have seen it at least recently, and this is going to be a spoiler.
In Morph's watching time, it's a new metric. That is opening weekend. He saw it within a month of coming out.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater, even in 3D. So,
does that work with your glasses? Sorry to derail this, but for some reason with my eyesight in 3D glasses, I hate it. I can't stand it.
I was able to get, I guess with the frames that I have, I was able to get the glasses to actually sit on them, but I couldn't move very much. If I moved or scratched my face or something, they would fall back down, and so I'd have to try to get them situated back. I went and saw it with my whole family, my wife and 2 kids, and my youngest one didn't want the glasses on at all, so I'm sure he was watching things in double. And then my older son, he would have them on sometimes and then take them off sometimes, and so he was going back and forth. So I don't know that I'll take the kids to go see another movie in 3D, and I'm not sure. This is the second movie that I've seen in 3D, and I'm not sure that 3D is really that great of a thing to see a movie in. There were moments where it felt kind of cool, but I also didn't feel like it added anything to the movie. But I guess I'll have to go see it in not 3D and compare it. So I guess that means I got to go back to the theater.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I have seen it twice now. I saw it a second time this morning in preparation for this, but only in preparation for this. That was the only reason.
Yeah, for science.
Yes,
I do my homework for these things.
That sounds.
If I'm going to be on a
sounds
podcast,
so
I do my homework.
Yeah, I've seen it twice as well. So the two guys.
My homework comes in the liquid variety.
Twice.
I laugh at this homework comment, John, because we've done this other podcast with you called Geekfecta, which the couple times that you have shown up to do this podcast, you hadn't done any homework. So I love the fact
I didn't even know what the subject
threw
was
that out there.
I do know that for almost every subject Geekfecta has discussed, Highlander 2 works as the worst movie ever. In that subject.
That is true. That is true. So, all right, here is your spoiler warning, people. We are going to talk The Force Awakens. We are going to talk spoilers. So if you have not seen this movie, push pause now, go watch the movie, and come back and listen to us. If you don't want to know anything about this, turn it off now. You have 3, 2, 1... There we go. All right, that is official. So now, where do we want to start? How about we start with John?
My favorite spoiler. My favorite internet spoiler for the movie.
Your favorite internet spoiler?
Yeah, somebody wrote this on Twitter.
That Chewbacca was actually 3 Ewoks in a Wookiee suit?
No, he said, spoiler alert, halfway through Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, the manager comes out and makes you put your pants back on and leave the computer.
Yeah. I know that didn't happen at my theater.
Pretty sure that
keep
was
your pants off, huh?
6, John.
Yeah, I just
confirmed that it happened.
That bronze bikini really did for you.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's start with John. John, your thoughts? The Force Awakens. Good, bad, indifferent?
See, I actually loved it. I thought it was a blast. But I loved it despite its faults, if that makes any sense. There were a number of things that drove me a little nuts. I felt like we were seeing Star Wars, the Episode 4, if we have to clarify, but Star Wars, because it's Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi is the way it goes, all over again. I mean, down to the characters and everything, but I didn't care. And I'll tell you my true favorite thing about having seen it, and this happened during the second time, but we were sitting there watching it, and the first time the X-Wings come tearing in, and my 12-year-old daughter literally gets up with her heels on her seat and starts going, X-Wings! And go, choo, 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 and making noises and flying around. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. This is fantastic. And it was that sort of joy and excitement that I didn't get from the prequels that I did get here. This is what I wanted, which was more Star Wars. It may have been maybe too close to being exactly the same more Star Wars, but I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go and just enjoying it, which is rare for me. I usually hold grudges and nitpick things to death. So, like all geeks.
Well, and we will definitely get into some nitpicking things, but before we get into that, Trevor, your thoughts?
Do you want the long story or the short story?
Either one.
It was enjoy. I went with my wife. We saw it in 2D while we were in Topeka visiting some family, and it was an enjoyable movie. Being a fanboy that I am, I had no problem with the movie. What I have an issue with is the fact that they did basically retell episodes 4, episodes 5, and episode 6 all in one 2-hour movie. I mean, come on. At least 1 through 3 was original.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they might as well have called it The Force Retold.
Yeah, well, and I will completely agree with you there because that was actually one of the first comments as we were driving back from the theater in the car, and we were talking about it in the car with my wife and I made the comment that I kind of felt like this was Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi all wrapped up into one. Snippets of each of them. I didn't I didn't feel like this was brand new ground. But I would also make the argument that this movie, I felt like we only saw a third of the movie they wanted us to see, and the other 2/3 of it are coming in the next two movies.
Well, no. Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they doing 4 or 5 more movies? Because they're doing a Rogues, and then 2 more follow-ups to this, and possibly another Rogues movie.
I think there are 2. I think there are going to be. They're making a trilogy, and then there's going to be some spin-offs from there. And I think Rogues is one of the spin-offs, and then there's some talks of some other ones coming up that are going to be some spin-offs.
Yeah, I think there's a Star Wars movie a year through 2019.
Yeah.
Life could be worse. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I overall, I don't think the movie was bad. I don't think this movie was bad. I actually, and I agree with you, John. Like the watching my kids jump around in the seats because our theater wasn't packed by any means when we were there. Seeing them just jump up, and my youngest one was doing the exact same thing your daughter was doing, just the like just getting into the battles and the space battles that I think that was the thing that made Star Wars really special for me in the beginning was the battle between the X-Wings and the TIE fighters, and getting to see that in this one I liked. I mean, I was a little frustrated with some of the scenes where I thought it was almost just straight rip-offs.
You mean like the tunnel run through the center of the planet?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That.
Even the Millennium Falcon running away from the in that opening scene where it flies in through the. Yep.
The Star Destroyer versus the second Death Star.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's like I felt some of that stuff, but again, I still come down to this. This movie wasn't. This movie was just a setup for the next movies. Like this movie, and this is where I think people kind of missed the boat. But before we get into that, Mr. Kip, what are your thoughts on The Force Awakens? As I just completely left you out of it.
Nah, I'm used to it.
John doesn't have it.
I saw it twice. I saw it opening weekend, and then I saw it again on Christmas Day, both times in 2D. Not like the hugest Star Wars fanboy in the world, but I loved the movie. I do know, like everybody says, the storyline is a rehash of what we've already seen, but I didn't care. I just enjoyed the ride. I've been reading a lot on the internet how people didn't like Kylo Ren. They didn't like the guy who played him. All of a sudden, his name escapes me, Adam something. I liked him. I thought he was fine. He played a spoiled brat, which I'm good with. I liked him enough. Saw it twice. Liked it both times. That's all I got.
So, yes, Trevor.
Actually,
spoiled brat.
Yeah, that's
my
that's
grandfather
kind of
didn't love me.
Well, and that was probably that's where I actually got into a little frustration was, and I had to stop and remind myself that there are more movies and they are setting this all up because the movie left me with too many questions. The Star Wars movie, the very first one, was not written as 3 movies. It was written as 1 movie, and then he added.
at the end, you had to quantify this to yourself that it's going to get better later.
Yeah.
Okay. So in
or
actuality, it's not good now.
Not better, but it's going to answer some questions.
It's going to answer some questions. It's at least that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping we get to find out why Kylo Ren actually is in love with his grandfather that he's never met. You know,
why would they tell that after the fact? Wouldn't we have to go back to have like episode 6.5?
I don't know. We could have some flashback sequence. I don't know. We could actually find out why he is, why is he the spoiled brat? What happened to him to put him in this spot? Who's Rey? And why is she so important other than she's just a Jedi? I mean...
She's Luke's daughter.
Or is she Obi-Wan?
Is she?
Yeah,
Obi-Wan's
she's Luke's daughter, dude. That's my guess. I'm completely throwing that out there, but that was entirely my guess. She's Luke's daughter.
That was my first thought too, but then in thinking about it a little bit more, if she's Luke's daughter, that's the worst parenting ever. Like,
well, he didn't have a good example.
So he's gonna go do to her what happened to him? That doesn't even make sense. He would want
to protect her from the dark side.
But that's what he's doing. He's training them.
He's hiding from them.
He's in hiding and no one can find him. The perfect place to hide her is with him.
Well, let's look at it this way. Every Skywalker or Skywalker descendant or who's gone through official Jedi training has gone bad, and everyone who has been stuck on a desert planet to either be raised by their uncle and aunt or fend for themselves might turn out to save the universe.
Yeah.
Just saying, he's got a tried and true formula to follow.
That's true. It's true.
Right?
Maybe he should have just dumped her in a swamp then. Just started that process off early.
Take her out of Dagobah.
Yeah.
So here's. Well, I just have one quick question. Because we've seen the ghost of Anakin standing next to Obi-Wan and Yoda, sort of palling in on the forest moon of Endor there during the big party. Who is he talking to when he's talking to the mask? In my family, we started calling him Darth Ben, mainly because Bill Sininger, my business partner's son, is named Ben, and I like the thought of him being Darth Ben. So who's he talking to? Like, why would that father give him guidance? That father switched to the light side. That grandfather, saved himself, redeemed himself at the end of Jedi.
But he had to remove
guidance
the mask. He removed the mask when he redeemed himself.
Oh, so the mask is what's guiding him. That Darth Vader. Wow, yeah. Nice. Okay, good save. I'll go for it.
I'm done. Dropping the mic.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that I don't understand, and that's where I don't like. They don't explain. They say that Kylo Ren turned and destroyed all the other Jedis that Luke was trying to train or something along those lines.
The Knights of Ren, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't understand why. They didn't explain why.
They sort of jumped over whatever happened between the rebellion winning, right?
Yeah.
And the whole celebration and presumably the Empire sort of fading away and the Republic returning, right? To all of a sudden we're back to the Republic is being threatened by this new order, and the former rebellion is now a resistance within that, being supported by the Republic, but still a weakened force within this galactic empire of some sort.
Right.
I kind of felt like they sort of threw us into that storyline and didn't give us the background at all. Like we're missing some. And I, like you, am hoping that they will come back and expound on it at least, or give us more of a story in these later ones, where we can find that out.
Or at least explain a little bit more of it.
Right.
But I agree with you, Trevor. I mean, I think that was where they kind of, it's a dangerous step that they took with this movie. It's receiving high praise, which is good because that's what they needed. They needed a movie to just knock it out of the park in the critics' sense, because there's there's not a whole lot of people out there saying that they hated this movie like episodes 1, 2, and 3. Go ahead, Trevor. Say it.
Say well, I was just gonna say, what makes people hate 1, 2, and 3? Let's talk about that. Let's just dive right in there.
I was just pulling up his comment. Trevor Tapp. I hate the argument that the prequels were awful. Apples and oranges here. It was evident that Lucas was pandering to a younger audience in the first film, so the baby boomer fathers could take their sons to and enjoy the experience. I was one of them. It was cool. I love 4 through 6, but come on, 1, 2, 3 are good in their own right.
They are.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear this.
I guess the better question is, what makes them good?
I think the opposite. What makes them bad? I mean, okay. So what really? Here's my real issue with episode 7. So from what I've read on the internet and kind of the whole conversations about 1 through 3 is that the jokes were corny as hell and just plain awful. The writing was plain awful, and some of the characters were just stupid. Okay, so let's fast forward to episode 7. Kylo Ren is the biggest damn Sith. He's the worst damn Sith I've ever seen. He's the biggest baby. That's the baddest guy ever, whatever. And Darth Maul was certainly badder than he was. I mean, Darth Maul did not throw temper tantrums and start swinging his lightsaber around. And that's pretty lame.
That is true.
And they killed Darth Maul in the first episode, right? So
they might as well have killed this guy.
They threw away their best villain.
That is very true. The jokes are corny as hell. I mean, the first line in the movie, or one of the first lines, was, "So, am I gonna talk? You gonna talk? How's this work?" I mean, come on, that's a pretty lame, corny joke there. Throw it in there, and then you follow it up with Han Solo. It's true, all of it. I mean, you might as well have just been in a porn and said it's real, all of it, baby. I mean, come on.
I think I saw that one.
I'm watching it now.
So there you have just awful characters, awful writing, awful jokes, just all mixed into the same, which is the same thing that happened in 1 through 3. So what really makes me angry is that there's inconsistency in the anger of the movies.
You know what? I can understand you on that part. However, my problems with 1 through 3, on the baseline, are the bad writing, the terrible dialogue, the corny jokes.
Cardboard cutout actors.
Yeah, the cardboard cutout actors. It was more the fact that the stories in those didn't make any sense. I couldn't keep up with them. I couldn't follow them, and I'm supposed to be the guy that can watch, who picks out all the nitpicking stuff. I mean, I'm the one who takes apart Transformers episodes, for God's sakes. I mean, I'm the last person that should get confused in watching a movie. And I was complete and utterly lost in most of those movies. I don't understand what was happening. I don't understand why it was happening. I don't understand why is Jar Jar Binks even in the movie?
And that's why you quit Olsen and work for Kiewit now.
Pretty much. Yeah, I don't understand it. And that's my problem with those movies, is I felt like not only did Lucas, I will agree with you, he was trying to cater to a younger audience. I'll agree with you completely on that fact. But you don't cater to a younger audience by dumbing down your content. And
yes,
here.
But we shouldn't. We shouldn't have to. And this is an argument I've had about movies, and it really starts somewhere around the time of Return of the Jedi, right? It really does start somewhere in that time frame. There used to be movies that were aimed at a much younger audience. Think Apple Dumpling Gang, a lot of the Disney movies, right? And then there were movies that were aimed at a general audience that also included, you had to write them because you couldn't write a lot of R movies and get a lot of money out of them. You had to write them at a PG level or so and still have good writing and good storytelling. Then they figured out that if they pandered more and more to the children, that they did better, right? And so they started making movies with more and more children who are leads, with more and more children who save the day and save the universe, with more and more adults who are idiots, not just or incompetent, not just not there, but idiots and incompetent, and so the children have to save the day. And that's kind of where they went with the prequels. And it was really annoying to me because as a small child, as a 7-year-old sitting in that theater watching Star Wars, I loved it. I didn't need to see a child in the lead saving the universe when Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia could save the universe for me, and I could watch them and want to emulate them. And I feel like they went for that low-hanging fruit much more in that case because they could, and because it pays off for them to do that for the prequels, versus actually just writing a movie where everyone can enjoy it. Not just for kids, but where everyone can enjoy it, children through adults, like Star Wars, Empire and Jedi were, although Jedi starts to lean on that Ewok cuteness, silliness factor more and more and more. They start to pander more and more.
Hey,
I don't understand.
Ewoks are my favorite animal. I've got a stuffed animal in the car right now of an Ewok.
All right, so what's your birth year? Are you born on
86.
the wrong side of the Ewok line? Yep,
Yeah.
you're on the wrong
86.
side of the Ewok line. 77 is the Ewok line.
Yep.
If you were born pre-77, Ewoks have a little bit of a really? And if you're born post-77, you're like, Ewoks are the greatest! Oh, I love them!
Yeah.
That's
It's
actually
a teddy bear.
It's a
cute.
TV joke.
Yeah. Oh, it's great, and it's true. We're
That's my problem with the prequels. Sorry to jump in there, but that's my problem with the prequels. I think they went for the low-hanging fruit. I think they dumbed them down on purpose in order to get that audience, and I don't think you need to do that. And I really, really want my fandom, say Star Wars, to not do that.
Well, did they dumb it down to get audience, or did they dumb it down to sell toys?
How many toys
Both.
did they sell with the first ones? Like, seriously, do you know how many Star Wars toys we all had? That was the start of it, right?
well, and I think, but
Aaron's
but
probably
again,
still got some left in the box somewhere.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
didn't.
do.
I didn't have a whole lot of Star Wars toys. I didn't have toys as a kid. I had to play with sticks and rocks.
I have an entire shoebox upstairs that's got the original Star Wars trading cards from 70.
Hey, look, you
But
were an Ewok. You played with sticks and rocks.
exactly, and I would play the drums on other people's helmets too, with their heads still in them, which is my favorite.
Bald heads, helmets, whatever.
I don't know. Does this show up, by the way?
Oh yeah, that's good. I like that.
Nice.
That was the costume we saw at Gen Con this year.
That's a good one. I like that one. I think Lucas, yes, he tried to. I think the problem is a combination of both of your comments there, John and Kip both. Yes, they were trying to sell more toys, and they were trying to gear it to a younger audience because they want a younger audience to buy those toys. Or they want them to convince their parents to buy those toys because, of course, 7-year-olds have the most disposable income, which is a confusion across all media. They're confused by that in all means. They're moronic in that. Don't gear, but in the same sense, they fell into the same trap that that I'm going to take this back to video games that Final Fantasy fell into when they made their conversion from one era to the next or one generation to the next. They took
Giant swords that you couldn't actually hold up?
No, it was more the idea that Americans were too stupid to be able to understand a complex story, and that you have to dumb this down and make this so simple so that the American public can follow it. And I honestly feel like Lucas fell into this trap, which is what actually caused him to have to sell to Disney in the first place, or started the process of him selling. I think those prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, were the downfall of Lucas, and it was because he dumbed it down. He tried to dumb it down so much, and so that every single person could watch that movie, that he forgot how to actually write. And either it came out in the edits, that could be. Maybe his movie isn't that, and maybe those 3 movies would be a lot better if they changed the way they were edited. It could even be as simple as that. either way, the movies that were released were. It's like watching a Michael Bay movie. They didn't make any sense. There was no story to them.
Well, here's a stupid thought for you. So Pixar, like Toy Story, came out in 1995, right? Episode 1 came out in 99. So is it possible that Lucas kind of picked up on this whole Pixar, Toy Story, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2 kind of play on the lighter side of things, more animation, more stupid friendly characters, just to get people in the seats, because he was indeed competing with the Pixar movies.
Well, and that's also the same time that Star Wars Rebels was coming out and was a big hit on the Disney networks, because I want to say that came out well, maybe that was when the talks of Star Wars Rebels was coming out.
I would argue that the Pixar movies would be a reason a reason that points out that even children's movies aimed specifically for children, animated films with G ratings, can have better writing than the prequels did. Because every Pixar story is, I mean, there are a few duds, but for the most part, they are very classic, fantastic movies. I mean, The Incredibles is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And they don't dumb it down. There aren't a whole lot of fart jokes in The Incredibles. There's no Gungan in The Incredibles. I mean, they yes, there are kid leads. You do have that. But the adults, I don't know. It's a great story. It has a nice. It's well written. It has a good story. It's much better written than any of the prequels, in my opinion. And if he was competing with that, he fell short. He came up much more like a Shrek than a Pixar movie. Honestly, not that Shrek's bad, but Shrek's really kind of like light candy stuff with a lot of topical humor that's going to fade really quickly. Whereas most of the Pixar movies are going to be classic stories. Whether you show them to a kid 20 years from now or you show them now, they're still going to be as funny and as good as they are.
Well, and but I think you are right there. I think I think he did fall in line with that. I guess we could call it. I'm going to call it the M. Night Shyamalan effect, because this wouldn't be a Geek Vice movie.
I can't believe you brought him up.
If I didn't bring up M. Night Shyamalan, I did bring up
Unbreakable is one of the greatest origin stories I've ever seen. It is. It's fantastic.
Yes, I agree with you.
I would agree with that. But the same thing, M. Night Shyamalan wrote. He had The Sixth Sense. He had that caught people off guard. It was it had the big twist to it, and he tried to recreate that over and over and over again in many of his movies, and he failed because he was trying to, instead of writing the story he wanted to tell, he was trying to recreate the story that made him famous. And I think Lucas tried to do the same thing and fell short. He tried to do that. Say what?
But added trade wars and metachlorines.
Yes.
He tried to tell the story that made him famous, a swashbuckling space opera, but instead added trade wars and metachlorines and Jar Jar Binks. I don't see how he was trying to recreate Star Wars. If he was trying to recreate Star Wars, he would have had what we had in Episode 7, which was recreating Star Wars. Retelling Star Wars.
But he couldn't put out a movie that was just a recreation of it. If he would have done that, he would have gotten ripped to pieces. I mean, we have to remember that he didn't have as much say in Episode 7 as he had in 1 through 6.
All right, so let's say 7 came out at the same timeline 1 did. So 1, 2, and 3 don't exist. 7 came out now. How pissed are Star Wars fans that they basically redid Episode 4 through 6?
If it was Lucas, I think it would have been a huge problem. But because Lucas has no say in this, and this is J.J. Abrams and Disney, then I think that is actually what causes some of this. Hey, this is a new generation of people doing this. It's not Lucas recreating his same stuff.
I don't think they would have done it the same if they didn't have the, what are we looking at, almost 30, 40 years in between, right? What's it been since 77? Almost 40 years?
Yeah.
We wouldn't, there's no way they would throw that back at us. But since they have that time frame, since they have 40 years, I think they can. My aunt who went and saw it with us today pointed out that, well, there are whole generations who didn't see the original Star Wars. And I went, well, no, everyone's seen Star Wars. And then I realized, well, no, everyone I know has seen Star Wars. Everyone in my circles has seen Star Wars. But I don't know that everyone has seen Star Wars. That there probably are whole families who don't sit down with their kids and watch it on a frequent basis.
My 3-year-old daughter, so with all the trailers and everything have been out all over the internet. We've come home from preschool for the last 3 weeks, and she goes, I want to watch Star Wars. And she'll go to our Blu-ray, we've got the 6-disc set, and she'll pull out one, and we watch that for the night, and the next day, I want to watch Star Wars. We've watched 1 through 6, I kid you not, at least 3 times. We were actually debating upon taking her, but we ended up not taking her to go see episode 7 because she'd go, well, who's that? Who's that? What's going on over here? Who's that guy? Where's Luke? We're like, no.
Aaron does the same thing.
I had to have the conversation. I can't answer all those questions.
We already talked to Aaron about Aaron's simple brain over here.
Yeah.
There was some small child behind us at the theater today going, when Han is walking out on the bridge, going, do you think that Darth will turn nice too? I'm going, oh no, that poor kid's going to be crying. But she doesn't have the same attachment I have to Han, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
come on, okay. Solo.
So we've...
Did you just call me Solo?
See, exactly. That's bad writing.
I don't care if that's bad writing. That dude was golden with his deliveries. He was freaking on fire throughout that movie.
I chuckled, yes, but that is just bad writing.
No, well, that was good timing, is what it is. It's
yeah.
Like, and that's what it honestly. That's what it felt like, because that guy felt like he had no clue about anything that was going on, but he delivered his lines perfectly. I mean, that's the way his character was supposed to be. That guy who's just completely lost in everything. I mean, Finn was incredible. Like, I loved that character, and I was rooting for that character through the end. I hope that there is more with Finn. I hope there is something. I hope that there is some reason that Finn stays in the rest of these movies.
There's only one reason Finn's going to be in the rest of these movies, because he's going to Brokeback Mountain with Poe. He and Poe are going to go off somewhere. Now that's a pilot. I mean, come on.
Now, if you want me to give you a reason why these movies and the movies prior to this are better than the prequels, the Star Wars through Empire or through Jedi, and are better than the prequels.
Oh no!
Regardless, Han delivers it and he sells it and it's done well. You look at the dialogue in those second movies, and no one could have delivered that dialogue well. It was so awful. You had good actors. There were good actors trying to deliver that dialogue, and it fell dead flat.
Well, Liam Neeson did a fantastic job, but of course they killed him.
He did okay.
I kind of like Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor. I saw an outtake where he's battling Darth Maul, right, and he comes flipping off and he lands on a big airbag, and they send in the 2 guys to try and drag him out of the airbag, right? They're pushing down the airbag and they're pulling him out, and he's coming out of the airbag and he's got this big ass grin on his face and he says, "So my agent says, you want to do Star Wars?" And I'm like, "Too fucking right I do." You know what I mean? So that guy was so excited to be there. He was going to give 1,000% to be in that movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like he got kind of ripped off because he got those 3.
Ewan McGregor did a great job in those.
He did. He was a standout in those movies. Yes.
So what I hear you saying, John, you actually like these 3 movies?
The prequels? No. You hear me saying that Ewan McGregor did a good job, and you can do a good job in a shitty workplace, a really shitty workplace that puts out a crappy product. If you have the right integrity and the right effort behind it, you still can. And
so he might as well.
I know.
Sounds like an engineering firm.
Okay, so we've got. So I want to talk a little bit more on The Force Awakens specifically. What do you guys think?
We don't care what you want.
I know you
No,
don't.
sorry, go ahead.
But I want to know what you guys think about the use of Harrison Ford as bringing these original actors back for this movie. Do you feel like they played well? Do you feel like that was a good choice?
The interaction between the older characters seemed forced. No pun intended.
I liked it though. That was good. That was good.
I can't take credit for that. That was John earlier at lunch.
Oh, nice.
You're using my jokes. But
Well, you're not going to
screw
I wouldn't call them jokes. That's forcing it.
Where's that mute button?
So, John, your thoughts?
I thought Harrison was. I don't know. It was seeing Han Solo again. It was seeing the scoundrel I loved. I was always a Han fan. I mean, Luke's cool. That's fine. People want to be Jedis. People want to be, Luke Skywalker. I always want to be Han.
Yeah,
I always did. I thought he was the coolest. It's probably what I love about Firefly. Malcolm Reynolds is, it's been said that was the continuations of Han Solo, the continuing story of Han Solo, of, what happened after Star Wars. He became a smuggler again.
Yeah.
I like that character. I like the scoundrel. I thought he did phenomenal. I loved the scenes he was in. It felt like pure nostalgia gold. And maybe that's I'm seeing it through, rose-colored glasses. I really felt like Princess Leia struggled. I really did. Carrie Fisher.
Well, that's the longest she's been sober in 20 years. So.
It's that bronze bikini. Woo!
Have you guys seen Fanboys?
Yes.
Anyone?
Yeah, me.
I thought she was phenomenal in that. I thought she was freaking hilarious. And maybe that was 20 years ago at this point. It probably was. But
I think it was.
I don't know. She was. It just felt hard. But I'm not sure that she was given great lines. They were very abrupt. I always hated watching, no matter how much I did like you.
Sorry, John. Did you guys happen to see her GMA, or was it GMA? Yeah, GMA interview. It's hilarious. It's completely off key. She brings her dog in. The dog is just stoned out of his mind with his tongue hanging out to the side. It's absolutely hilarious. She's cracking jokes left and right, just having a good time with it. The funny thing coming off of that is looking on the Imager right after that, there's a zoom in on her dog's collar, and it's got her phone number written on it. And people are like, "Oh my God, Princess Leia, I've got her number."
I agree with you, John. I agree that her lines seemed forced. She felt stiff. She felt like, and I don't know if maybe that was kind of what got me thinking was maybe that was that it was like that for a reason, that J.J. Abrams wanted her to act that stiff for that for whatever tension that caused them to separate, that caused Leia and Han to go in different directions, and now it made the comment that when they were looking for a way back to the rebel planet or the rebel homeworld or whatever, Hans was told that you're going to have to face this. You're going to have to deal with this. You're going to have the conversation you have refused to have. So I almost kind of wonder if there was some of that was supposed to be there. But I agree with you. It just kind of felt.
Well, even the 3PO stuff was forced, and the R2 thing was just awful.
Oh look, I have a red arm.
If only. Or if only R2 were awake. No, he wouldn't have anything in his storage. Oh, come on. Did you just hit us with that clue by 4? Really? We didn't need that.
He's the definition of a MacGuffin.
Right.
R2-D2 was always, I made this comment after the movie was over. I'm like, R2-D2 always has the answers. Anytime they had a problem and they needed an answer, they just looked at R2 and said, "R2, what should we do?" And then he would tell them exactly what to do. It's like, It was
You know
asinine that he was just sitting.
What R2 I liked best was R2 in episode 2. Is it 2 or 3? Might have been 3. Where he's got his little laser jets and he's flying around and squirts oil on the droids. Right? That R2 is BA, and then all of a sudden in episodes 4, 5, and 6, he's just stumbling around like an idiot, and this one he's just kind of sitting there like a friggin' statue. I mean, come on, R2 is awesome. The BB-8 little freaking ball that just rolls around. You know what I expected is somebody just to run around like a soccer hooligan like Aaron over here, just punt him 60 yards.
I was actually surprised that nobody reached out and kicked this. See, I'm really surprised about that.
That was the pandering to the soccer hooligans. That's what that was.
Well, I did like the BB-8's interaction with
Finn.
Was it with Finn when he was zapping him in the leg?
Yeah. And the little light that comes out to give him the thumbs up.
I like the thumbs up, the thumbs up.
That was good.
So if you haven't looked up and found the William Shakespeare's Star Wars, there's a guy who took Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi and turned them into William Shakespeare plays. If you haven't done this, go find them. It is the best R2 ever because R2 says beep, moop, moop, beep, beep. That's how it's written on the page as R2's voice. But then in parentheses, it'll have his, like, to self notes where he's like, and watch this path I set this fool of my friend on. You know, his protocol won't help him here. And he sends him, you know, and he's like the behind-the-scenes manipulator of the entire series is R2. He sets it all up, and they're fantastic. Even without that, they're fantastic.
Yeah, that's way too true. What do you guys think about the Luke Skywalker cameo at the end?
Cameo is a good way to describe that.
To me, I was actually hoping that the scene was going to end without him turning around, to where all you saw was the back of him, and that you wouldn't actually see Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker with a beard.
I kind of like John's approach to how this movie should have ended, which was the traveled a long way you have or some shit like that. Right, John? What the hell is that joke you had earlier?
You have a little force in you? Would you like some? But that's a completely different movie at that point.
I think we did jump back to John's porn that he's watching over there.
Hey, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'd like to know what you guys think about the whole energy shield bullshit where they just like, okay, we're going to ramrod this thing and then stop inside the energy field, and then we're just going to fly around inside. I mean, come on.
Didn't they do that? They do that with the Death Star too?
Nope. Remember the whole scene on Endor where they got trapped and, you know, it's a trap. I mean, come on.
No, that's true. Well, there was one movie where they did that in. Or maybe that was Spaceball. Maybe that was Spaceballs. There are some times where I get that added in there. Rick Moranis, you know, that's what I kept expecting every time. I don't know. Sorry. Next.
There's a meme going around the internet where the Falcon is flying into the back of the Star Destroyer, right? And there's a little black thing in the sand, and they zoom in. It's the two guys with the comb from Spaceballs. They're combing the desert.
Yes.
They're still out there.
That's awesome.
If you want me to nitpick that kind of stuff, I got all kinds of it, right? So he's got his X-Wing fired up. X-Wings have shields. He takes one blaster rifle fire to the back of it, and the thing's completely inoperable, right? You can't fly, can't do anything with it all of a sudden. Yeah. Then they go to steal a TIE fighter, which, by the way, don't have any shields whatsoever. At least they didn't in the old canon and in any of the video games. And they got an armada or an army of guys lined up with tripod-mounted laser cannons blasting away at it, and it just bounces off of it. You know, it's fine. Who cares? No big deal.
I'd like to know why they have the TIE fighter chained to something. I mean, this is the planet that's fully
it's like a data link. Well, they were on the Star Destroyer at that point. They were on the Star Destroyer. They weren't on the planet.
Yes.
It's like a data link, maybe? They're downloading the programming. Two-seater TIE fighters. Why are there two-seater TIE fighters now? Like, the only two-seater TIE fighters were the TIE Bomber. Why not have them steal a TIE Bomber if you need a two-seater TIE fighter? And speaking of not enough ships, I'm not done.
Because you need something for the Black Man to do.
Right? So they're attacking the planet. They're going in. They're bombing this big installation. Why not use a Y-wing, which is an attack fighter, or a B-wing, which is a bomber? Why use only X-wings?
All they have is
Because
X-wings. Because they're
Why
cheap.
do they only have X-wings?
Because they're cheap.
Because
They
Poe
had
Dameron.
B-wings. They had A-wings.
Awesome.
He's an
Well,
amazing
you better
pilot.
remember, they defeated the Empire, and then 20 years later,
They scrapped
Well,
everything.
So they
Okay.
suck at management. That's
Well,
what
actually-
If only they kept those Trade Federation guys around, they could have been better at this.
So
Yeah,
the
they
X-Wing is the only
mismanaged
thing that's
everything.
ever destroyed anything, right? The X-Wing, Luke's X-Wing destroyed the first Death Star.
Okay,
I guess
so then why aren't they
Harrison Ford-
firing photon torpedoes at it? Right? They have photon. That's what he fires at the original Death Star. He fires a photon into it, right?
Yeah,
Well,
Why not
because they
fire
have-
those at this thing?
Because this one's bigger. It had that graphic. This thing was.
yeah, that was that was a
Well,
pretty
well,
awesome.
Death
Paul has never been to Beggar's Canyon.
Beggar's kid.
My wife pointed out, if you really want bad, if I'm going to bitch about the ship, she says I get to bitch about the fact that the weapons got bigger, right? Because weapons get smaller and more deadly. They don't get bigger and more deadly. They get smaller and more deadly.
Yep, that's
Paul.
that's a good point. Well, okay, if we're gonna get into this nitpicking thing, how about we get into the fact that Rey has the Force and now is all of a sudden able, without any training whatsoever, is able to convince the guard to let her out and leave the door open.
But I'd also like to know.
Well, she's been exposed.
How does she know she can do that? Like, how does she know mind games are a part of the Force?
She's the stories.
She reads.
Hey.
They're all true, and she's heard stories.
They're all true.
I mean, I can
Right?
I can go with the idea that she's heard stories and has some idea and is willing to try it, but that was, I mean, if we go back to the original movies, I mean, that took a lot of effort and that took a lot of training in order for Luke to be able to do that stuff. Either this girl is way more powerful than Luke ever was, which is a little, okay, if that's the route we're going to go. But if that's the route we're going to go, how come she hasn't at least got an idea that she can do some of this stuff when she's on, was she scavenging things and never once, started to fall? Or did she not ever once think, just try to, look at the guy who's giving her rations and be like, no, I think that's really worth, a day's ration. And
Actually, she did that, and it didn't work. She said last week these were worth a half a ration or something.
Right.
It didn't work.
And that's my thing, is there should have been, if they were going to play her up as this hugely powerful Jedi, that is so powerful that the training really is more about fine-tuning the stuff she could do. I would have thought she would have been able to do more stuff on accident beforehand rather than after. That was probably my biggest complaint with it. I felt like it was they tried to force the Jedi out of her, or they needed a Jedi, they needed an unknown Jedi, and they didn't have enough time in this movie to actually have her learn to be a Jedi.
Until she goes to the secluded island with Luke, her daddy.
Nope, I'm going to go with, she's Luke's daughter. Luke didn't know he could do any of this stuff till he was about her age. She's a late bloomer. All the Skywalker, male Skywalker, well, now that doesn't make sense because Kylo, Darth Ben, all the Skywalker children who did not have a father present throughout most of their life are late bloomers when it comes to the Force.
Well, we're nailing this down to a
solved
fine pin. There you go.
So why is there a
Anyone who has-
sanitation guy on a crack squad attacking a planet to stop to gather the most important pilot in the Resistance?
We're going to use the Force. That's
I
not how
actually
it works.
felt like that scene right there when he's like, he's like, I was in sanitation. Like, that scene right there made me go, that's Spaceballs right there.
Yeah.
I think
the only reason he said that he was in the sanitation was so Han Solo 2 minutes later could go, well, you got a trash chute?
No. I think from what I've read, and I believe Kevin Smith has said this, that he's heard JJ that what that was your average stormtrooper doesn't know how to install a toilet drain, right? Like it's the conversation from Clerks about Star Wars is what that's from, and about civilian contractors working on the Death Star. Now, that could just be internet rumor I've heard, but that's what I heard it was from. So
well, and I mean, there was a lot of stuff in this movie where I kind of felt like there was, they threw some things in there just for the in crowd, for the people who do read a lot of stuff on the internet, the people who listen to Kevin Smith, the people who are huge Clerks fans and can repeat all those arguments from Clerks that they have on Star Wars.
Yes, because Star Wars needs fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool, fuck you, I'm out.
Yes. So, I mean, overall, I don't think this was a terrible movie. I do think it has some faults. I enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to the next movie. More so hoping that I get something that is. I think I'm more excited. Well, no. What I'm looking for is something more original.
So better.
Better's not the right word. I want something more original. I felt like this.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, go, John.
Go ahead. All I was going to say is and I mentioned this before about my daughter being excited for it. What it has done for me is I found myself, after seeing it opening weekend, that Thursday night, standing in Target a day later, looking at the Blu-rays of the Star Wars Empire and Jedi, going, God, I should pick these up, because the only copies I have are in my Darth Vader black and silver case of VCR tapes. Ooh, right? The unedited.
I got those.
Right, but I don't have a VCR. I trust not to eat them.
Yeah.
And part of me saying I should just play them because, if they get eaten, well, I'm not out anything anyways. But I don't want the edited versions. I don't want Han shooting in self-defense. I don't want that. I want what I had as a kid. And so I'm standing there, I'm looking at him, and my wife actually walks up and goes, you'll just be disappointed, and when the new ones come out, because Disney has promised or claimed they're going to put out Blu-rays unedited, or unaltered.
Yeah.
You'll just want those anyways, and we'll end up buying them twice. So I had to put it back. But I was seriously contemplating rebuying the movies. I'm seriously contemplating picking up the X-Wing game from Fantasy Flight Games, play with my daughter. I'm excited to dive back into the fandom of Star Wars, and that's what this movie has done for me. Even with all its glaring issues and problems, it's done that, whereas the prequels didn't do that for me. And that's what I like about it.
Random question for you, John. What were you doing back in 1999 when Episode 1 came out? Yeah, what were you doing? What were you doing in that? How old were you when that happened?
What year was it?
99.
99. I was 29. I was possibly working at Toys R Us and living in the Twin Cities. No,
so your anger
I was working for a
ran deep.
What's that?
Your anger for children ran deep.
Actually, I was working at Dorsey and Whitney by then. By the time I was 29, I was working at Dorsey and Whitney. No, I never minded the kids at Toys R Us. It was their parents I disliked.
As you should.
It was. I'm the youngest of 8 kids. My mom and her cousin used to take between 12 and 16 of us shopping with her, because that's the only way they could go grocery shopping. And she came up to Toys R Us when I was closing one night. She came in, she saw me, I told her I'd meet her at the hotel. She was staying in the cities. I get over to the hotel, and she looks at me and she says, "You let those kids run around in the store like that?" I said, "Mom, it's not up to me. I can't, I can, if they're wrecking stuff, I can say something, but I can't stop these parents from letting these kids do that." And I said, "Come on, all us kids, we didn't run around the store." She goes, I said, "We wouldn't have run around the store like that." She goes, "Oh, hell no, I don't ever found out. I never let you out of the cart to find out. You stayed in the cart and I did my grocery shopping." So all of my anger is reserved for the parents. So kids are kids. You know what I mean? They'll get away with what they can.
Oh, so anyone got any closing thoughts? I think we've beaten this dead horse.
I have one, and
Yes.
this was actually brought to you by my wife, Becca. What do you suppose Snoke is obviously overcompensating for something with his giant hologram, and he's actually Yoda's brother.
Ooh, I like that one.
It
You
is
know what?
Andy
I would be
Serkis,
good
right?
with that.
It's Andy Serkis who's playing him, right?
Yeah.
What?
Who's playing Snoke? It's Andy
I think
Serkis
so,
who's
yeah.
playing Snoke.
Yeah.
So he can do small. We know he can do small. Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I was just like, well, that's a deep thought brought to you by Rebecca Tass.
That was awesome.
I like that one. I'm gonna go with that one. I'm gonna say yes. That's gonna happen. It's gonna be
But something's gonna happen there.
it's gonna be Yoda's brother, or maybe Yoda's son. Because I mean, this is a long ways down the road.
Now, the other thing I'd like to know real quick is who of us thinks Rey is Luke's daughter versus Leia's daughter, and they did a twin sort of thing like they did in Episode 3, and one twin went to Luke and one twin went to wherever after Kylo decided that he was going to be a giant crybaby.
I gotta think when she reunites with her, she's gonna be like, "Hey, I know you. You came out of my vagina." I'm just thinking.
Yeah, that's a good point. If
I'm
But
thinking
then
Leia would.
Who would be Rey's mother if Luke is the father? That's
He's
obviously not
around,
a
man.
immaculate.
Have you seen that map? That guy's been all over the galaxy.
I mean, he just
That
went
would
on
be
a
an elephant from delivery.
Probably the hot blue girl from the cantina.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had a lot of blue milk. He was feeling a little randy.
You and that blue milk.
Love some blue milk.
And you know what? On that note, I think we're gonna cue the music. Thanks everybody for listening. We're gonna end this on blue milk.
Chicken.
I don't know where this is gonna go. You guys can follow us. Check us out on our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Google Plus and Facebook. Just search for Geek Vice. You can also search for us on YouTube. For our YouTube channel, if you're not watching this on there and you're watching this on a podcast and you want to catch us live, subscribe to the YouTube channel and you will get updates when we go live. Mr. Harris, you can find him over at Prolific Games, and what is it, at Prolific Games on Twitter?
It is at Prolific Games on Twitter, prolificgames@gmail.com, Prolific Games on Facebook. Yeah, all of those work.
Yeah. You go buy their board games because they're awesome, and yeah, because I mean we talk about that on every other episode. Might as well talk about it on this one too. We can play Flapjacks and Sasquatches.
Nice. So did I tell you Bill has designed a Flapjacks and Sasquatches dice game over this Christmas break that we're going to be playtesting soon?
Oh,
It'll press your luck, sort of in the theme of zombie dice. So if you need even faster, more portable Flapjacks, we may have it coming to you soon.
Oh, that's
If
even
it works.
better. Because that'll be
now
perfect. I can just throw that in the camp box.
I say that, and we're going to play test it this weekend, and it's going to suck. But, you know.
Hey, you know what?
We won't know until we try it.
Yeah, just keep an eye on Prolific Games for all their awesome games coming out. Trevor, I don't think you have it. Do you have anything you want to pimp?
I'm a soulless ginger. What do I care?
I love the prequels. I love the prequels.
Yeah, you can find Trevor
I love the prequels.
at I love the prequels on Twitter. You can find him. You can find him on Facebook. Just search for the Soulless Ginger because he's gonna go get that right now. That page. It's gonna be a fan page all to.
That one's taken. That one's taken. Soulless Ginger's way taken.
You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow Kip at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at GeekVice. And, of course, you can always email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will see you next week.
Later.
Bye.